A smorgasbord of information from RecallGavin2020.com in a tasty, non-caloric, gluten-free bite. It's Friday night at the French Laundry with Chef Oren Heatley, maitre d' Mike Netter, and head cashier Randy Economy.
All the leaves are brown, and the sky is gray, California.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Friday Nights at the French Laundry, the political show which is always about California politics, with the main entree being the recall of our not-so-fabulous governor, Gavin Newsom. Happy to be accompanied tonight. Oren has a night off, taking care of various things. We brought in Eric early to cook, and Randy Economy, the political pirate, Ivy Gargar, as usual, is taking your money. Gentlemen, how you doing?
I'm fantastic.
Well, this
Mike.
is Eric.
It's great to be here, man.
Yeah, and this is Eric, Mike, and I love cooking up the meals tonight, so thanks very much for having me.
I hope so. And as we discussed, we're cooking up tonight a theme of transparency and accountability, something that's lacking, I think, a lot in our government, wouldn't you say?
Did you say transparency or transparency?
We're going to be talking about that, but I said transparency, Randy, and accountability.
Let me tell you something, Mike. The more an elected official says that they are going to be transparent, usually that means the more they will be opaque. And our present administration, both here in our state and, frankly, nationally, they're very big at using the word transparency and transparent, and they are incredibly opaque.
Yeah, and I'd like
to...
Go ahead, Randy.
The other thing, too, is sometimes, government is like a sausage factory. You really don't want to see how it works on a day-to-day basis because it gets pretty ugly and smelly. But in the end of the day, we need to know what is in the ingredients that are being served to us every day. And here at the French Laundry, we know what we're going to go ahead and serve up tonight. And we're going to go ahead and serve up some powerful lessons to Gavin Newsom.
And by the way, that's a good lead into the news everybody has been waiting for all week long from the Secretary of State as to where the heck is the count that was due on Monday, the 19th. And I've got to tell you that the Secretary of State's office, and Randy, that's a good analogy, we're certainly interested in seeing how they cook the sausage, but it's messy, and they've been rather transparent that they have no accountability. And the report theoretically is due out Monday. And I don't want to push forth conspiracy theories here because that's not why we're here. They've been transparent. They're doing this count very carefully. I wonder why that is, gentlemen.
So, Mike, what was the report that you were Mike, what was the report you were expecting Monday that you didn't get?
So the 10th report is out. For those of you, that's a good point, Eric. A lot of who don't follow this ad nauseum like we do in a good sense. So the Secretary of State 10th report was out, which would show how many validated, verified signatures. And we think that would put us over the top to ensure this was good on the ballot. It was due out on Monday. And you know what we heard, Eric?
What?
Nothing. We called him Tuesday. You know what we heard, Eric? Nothing.
Crickets.
Right? So I don't need to go on for every day of the week. Now, I will say that the press liaison, Joe, has been very communicative that he basically has no news. So that part's been transparent. But, gentlemen, we've all been to college, and when something is due, it's kind of due. You'd think they would at least put out an announcement saying we're a little bit behind or we're working on it, right?
I have
so.
to think that, I have to think that they know the number. They know the numbers already surpassed the minimum needed. And, at the end of the day, the king, the tyrant, is in control of what that Secretary of State's office, what information it releases. And they are probably freaking out. And so they are now in total control mode as to how they plan to let this information out. And, so I'm purely speculating, that might be one of the reasons why you didn't hear what you were supposed to hear this week.
And they were interesting. The people that we, and by the way, getting a hold of actual someone at the Secretary of State's office is about as well. There's nothing really harder than that. A live human being. They do answer their phone and put you over to voicemails. We didn't get calls back. However, we did get referred to. I want to give them quasi credit for that, if you will, to a person that at least told us there was no update. But where's the accountability, gentlemen? When something is due, it's due, right?
It absolutely is due.
About that?
Well, listen, I've been doing this for a long time. I might be the cashier tonight here at the French Laundry, but I've been in the parking lot for a long time in regards to politics. And the fact of the matter is this what we're doing right now, Mike and Eric, is literally once in a generation historic movement. And when you have the set of circumstances that 2.2 million Californians have created during this campaign, of course it's going to be messy, and it's going to be it's going to be difficult for people to grasp exactly how this thing is going to be played out.
True. And it's interesting because I think one of the reasons, or we're going to talk about a few articles tonight or a few things where Gavin is not transparent, not accountable, keeps moving around all the time when we talk about the production of oil, when we talk about kids not really back at school. These are the kinds of things where the state needs to be accountable and the agencies reporting to Gavin need to be transparent in the actual statistics so the people of California can make a decision. Now, I also want to hand out our phone number tonight because we want your comments. It's 1-800-222-5222. Fill up our phone lines. Make sure you get the chance to talk to Eric, talk to our guests that we have on tonight, and give us your opinion of what we're talking about and how you want your state government to be transparent and accountable. How it just appalls me a lot of the time how our governor, Gavin, and the state government simply makes decisions for us. And when Gavin doesn't like what the legislature is doing, he simply makes his own decisions. Election integrity is one thing I've been asked about a lot by various groups I've talked to this week. And Eric, and I know you're heavily involved in that. We'll get into that in a segment or so. But it struck me as very strange that the state can just declare mail-in balloting, declare elections machines, and really doesn't ask the opinion of the people.
I'll tell you something, Mike. Talking about getting back a bit to the transparency issue, I think one of Newsom's biggest problems is, and that will ultimately lead to his recall, is that he is a terrible communicator. And I don't know if that is a result of his sheer arrogance, which is, stupendous, and he just thinks he can control everything and doesn't have to share information with us, or if he just doesn't have the tools for the job. And I think, frankly, he doesn't. This is a guy, I've said in the past, he was a pampered child. Everything in life was handed to him. And he thought from the youngest age, thanks to his family's money and his family's connections and his Ken doll looks, that he was going to just, and the mainstream media and his woke, the woke things he stands for, that he was just going to glide in from where he is now, where he was before, right into the White House one of these days. And one of his biggest failures that's going to prevent that from ever happening is he just doesn't communicate with people. He hands down dictates. There's no warning. There's no discussion about it. And I frankly, from, when I read between the lines, I think people even in his own party have been incredibly frustrated with him about that. So that all is part and parcel with his complete lack of transparency. It's taking all these factors I'm talking about, putting it together, and you have this failed Ken doll who is now facing a recall thanks to the miracle that you and Orrin and Randy and your thousands of incredible volunteers have made happen.
And isn't it interesting that the Democrats were thinking of demanding. And by the way, I want to really give a shout out to Orrin, who's not here tonight, so I can give him a shout out, that 663 kind of went off the table, that it was really nice to have transparency when they were interested in trying to find out who actually signs a recall petition. But transparency doesn't count when we need to find out where's our actual count of what the recall number is. Randy, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah.
Well, listen. There's backroom politics every day in California, and what we see in Sacramento is, the Democrats are in what is known as, I like to call, complete freakout mode, and they are governing as they go along. And the truth is, Gavin Newsom has not allowed the 120 legislators in Sacramento to do their jobs this past year. He has decided that he was enacting an executive order and an emergency order due to the pandemic to go ahead and, act as a one-man band. So if I had invested hundreds of thousands of dollars or even millions of dollars with my contributors as an elected representative, whether I be the lieutenant governor or even a member of the state senate or assembly, the price of campaigns is very expensive here in California. I would be absolutely livid because their voices didn't count. Nobody's voices in Sacramento has been heard this entire year, with the exception of one, and that's Gavin Newsom, who continually decides that he is the almighty powerful. And I think Eric says it very eloquently every time he speaks in regards to this. The man is an empty suit.
And what a good chance before we go to break to remind you that we are the voice of the people at Friday Nights at the French Laundry, sponsored by you, the people. So remember, donate tonight if you can to recallgavin2020.com. We're the team that pays for the show. Keep us on the air, and we do have an announcement about that after the break. KABC 790, streaming all the way from the international border to Oregon and all around the country.
Full of a really big hypocrisy. You don't understand, we're not like other creatures. Rules do not apply to us, we are the leaders. Voters can't be trusted to be indoor eaters. They are more contagious after all, they're mouth breathers.
KABC, dependable traffic right now in Diamond Bar, a big problem. In fact, a signal alert has been issued. 57 southbound at Brea Canyon Road, an accident's in the right-hand lane of the roadway. 57 heading south, heading toward the city of Brea, Fullerton, and Anaheim. You're slow from the 60 down to Lambert Road. And the northbound side of the 57, looky-loo slowing from Lambert Road up to Pathfinder. Also a slow ride on the 5 northbound, that would be the Golden State Freeway. First, you're jammed up from the 10 Freeway Junction up to Stadium Way. And then up ahead in Burbank on the 5 northbound at Alameda, a stalled vehicle that was in lanes has been cleared away, but the 5 northbound stop and go from the East LA interchange to Lincoln. That's dependable traffic. I'm Mike Morris, AM 790, KABC.
Looking for an easier path to better health? Let Santa Clara Family Health Plan lead the way. With our Medi-Cal plan for individuals and families, it's easy to stay healthy. That's because we put your health needs first. As your neighbors in Santa Clara County, we'll guide you to the local providers you need so you can rest easy knowing we've got you covered. Life is easier with Santa Clara Family Health Plan. Take the first step right now at medicalscc.com. That's MEDI-CALSCC.com.
With no fees or minimums on checking and savings accounts, banking with Capital One is like the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Kind of like choosing Charles Barkley in a pickup game.
We'll take Barkley.
Ha! First pick. Sorry, kids.
Yep, even easier than that. And with our top-rated app, you can bank anytime, anywhere, making Capital One an even easier decision.
Okay, here's the plan. Pass me the ball every time.
This is banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
New consumer accounts only. Approval required. Terms apply. Capital One NA, member FDIC.
With K-12 Career Learning, I'm one
of a growing number of high school students preparing for a great future.
These schools are tuition-free and online, a program where I can get a traditional education with state-certified teachers
and take electives to explore fields I'm interested in.
With K-12 Career Learning,
I'm ready for college,
career, or maybe a little bit of both.
These schools may not be for everyone, but they're here for anyone.
I'm one. Are you one too?
K-12 Career Learning, education for anyone.
Are you looking to increase your lead gen efforts? Need to retain your existing customer base? Fraser Communications has helped clients in both B2B and B2C achieve just that. We know that perceptive research matched with emotionally compelling creative will motivate clicks, rings, the close, and the purchase. We know how to help you get and keep your valuable customers. If we can help you, go to FraserCommunications.com and contact Renee Fraser.
You've only had an appetizer. This is your Friday night at the French Laundry with Chef Orrin Heatley, maitre d' Mike Netter, and head cashier Randy Economy.
Well, eat it up, everybody. We're back Friday nights at the French Laundry. Couple announcements before we roll to the next subject here. Thanks to all your donations, and believe me, we need them to keep us on the air. I'm going to act as the bell tonight when I see a good donation. We are going to stay on the air for the month of May, and that's important to note. So far, we're staying on the air for the month of May, acting as your voice for the people. Also, coming next week to ensure that we convince that 14%, only 14% that are undecided that Gavin needs to go, we have merchandise coming in that's going to be available through our volunteers, and on our website to help fund our cause. So remember, Recall Gavin 2020 is the place to go. Gentlemen, I've got to tell you, all puns intended, this state is a fracking mess, wouldn't you say, when it comes to legislation?
Oh, it's a shit
well,
show.
that's a good way to put it. Good way to put it there, Mike. I know you're referring to the fact that I guess it was today the tyrant announced that he's going to put an end to all fracking in our state starting in 2024. Now, if all things go as we hope, he won't be around long before 2024. So hopefully that can be reversed. But, it's yet another example of a ridiculously woke tyrant. Couldn't care less about what so many of the people say. That is just so arrogantly destroys thousands and thousands of lives and livelihoods by his dictates.
Yeah, and Randy, I want you to comment on this next thing I'm going to read here, which I just found the most appalling about this, actually. So Newsom decided to use the state's environmental regulatory authority about efforts to pass the ban legislatively failed. However, he had said earlier that the governor's office lacked the authority. So in other words, what his King Gavin did was say, well, I don't have the authority, but if you're not going to do something about it, I'm the king. I could do anything I want. And I'm just amazed that the unions, the people's jobs that he's costing in the Central Valley are not even more up in arms because he doesn't have a plan for weaning us of anything except weaning him being out of California. Randy, what are your comments on that?
Listen, the California EPA needs to be. Let's just call it for what it is. It's a mess of bureaucracy tangled in fishnet. We need a governor who's going to go ahead and dismantle this agency as well as many others because we just can't continue to have faceless policy wonks continually to dictate, and a governor to put these executive orders in every single day to rule over 40 million people. I mean, enough is enough of this guy.
Yeah, and Eric, doesn't it strike you as strange that he put it before the legislature, the people that the people elected, both Democrat and Republican, couldn't come to a coherent decision, so Newsom just made his own. I mean, shouldn't somebody be pushing back on him from the Attorney General's office, at some level, somewhere in the state, Eric?
Listen, if we had an Attorney General who's actually protecting the people of this state and protecting the interests of this state, our own state Attorney General would have been suing Gavin Newsom's administration already for so much of what he's done. One of the good things about executive orders, however, is that they can be overturned by the next governor and thrown out immediately. And again, we're all hoping there's going to be a next governor sooner rather than later that'll do exactly that. But this is yet another example of the way this guy works. He has used the COVID situation as a pretext to believe that he is a dictator. And he just, every single position he has is the wrong position for this state and for the people of this state. And that's why he is going. That's why this recall is happening. And again, with respect to the unions, and I just want to, just flesh out what you're talking about. By this executive order that's going to end fracking, Gavin Newsom is destroying thousands of very good paying jobs in this state. Many of them are union jobs. And unfortunately, so many of the unions really own the Democrat Party and the elected officials in this state. And it's time for the union folks, the people whose jobs are being destroyed, the police unions, who Gavin Newsom will never stick up for. It's time for the unions to step up and say, we've had enough of this guy, Newsom. And with respect to this fracking thing, it is yet another example of everything Gavin Newsom does is to destroy private sector jobs. And he thinks the only way to, and it follows through to all the elected officials in his party, they think the only way to create jobs is by spending taxpayer money to create jobs. That's not how America was built. It's the private sector that are the brilliant people to create the jobs, not these government political hacks spending money like yours, like mine, like everybody listening, as if it is their own personal money.
Yeah, and what strikes me as interesting, we're going to talk about the teachers' unions later and the lack of transparency and accountability. We can just use the word honesty here. But public unions are very interesting because, in effect, they can decide to fire their boss by not contributing to their campaign, which are politicians. Where the private unions, if they don't, Gavin's just going to eliminate their jobs. Randy, we've talked about this before, of kind of how the public unions have kind of taken over government, and that's kind of separate from the private unions, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't begrudge anybody who is a hardworking union member. I don't begrudge anybody at all. I mean, I come from a union family. My brother's a union steward in the horse racing industry. I don't begrudge people like that. What I begrudge is, and one thing that we have got to fix in California, there's got to be a way that this next governor can really figure it out with the people, is just how powerful these union bosses are, and how people don't get a say in regards to what their union does. All they do is they get their money taken, their union dues is taken, and that union dues goes into very, very cushy lifestyles for.
Hello, Randy?
Well, let me just take over for what Randy was saying. Mike, this is Eric speaking. I lost Randy as well.
We knew that, Eric, but thank you for identifying yourself.
Well, listen, let me give you a perfect example of how, for example, the public employees unions control the state right now. And again, we all stand up for working people of all races, creeds, and colors. Okay. The Public Employees Union, however, is paid for. They're paid for by by money that comes from our taxpayers.
Well, did we lose Eric? Okay, I'll have to talk. I think what he's saying is that it's important that we make a differentiation. The police union, and we're going to be talking about law and order in another segment here. It's important to differentiate that certain unions are getting too much power. And if you're out there right now working for a private union as part of the oil sector, we highly recommend you get a hold of us so we could be in this together at recallgavin2020.com. We want to work with you to make sure this state phases correctly without a loss of people's incomes and jobs. Let's take a caller. Linda at Burbank, you're on line one. You want to comment on the recall?
Yes. First, I'm glad that they got rid of that bill that has people check everybody who signed the petition to try and get everybody's names, and try and get them, to change their mind and all that stuff. And when if something else like this happens again, I was trying to get on the phone last week, but I wasn't able to. The gal that called in that said that she was afraid to donate because her information is online. I assume she donates online. If anybody's afraid to donate, don't donate online. You can always write out a check. If you're afraid to write out a check, send out a money order. Reason why I'm saying this now also is because this morning I heard that the federal government, has this, I believe it's the federal government, it's called ICOP. And it's where the post office can find out what people are doing online.
Yeah, there's all, it's interesting.
This is national.
Yeah, no, and it's always interesting that I don't want to go too deep into this conspiracy thing, Linda, because I don't disagree with you. There's lots of people watching, but here's the really scary part. We're going up against a break. We just shouldn't be afraid of our government. Our government needs to be transparent and accountable to us, the people. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, we're up against a break here. Very much appreciate your point of view, and you're right. Don't be afraid to contribute. Go to our website, recallgavin2020.com. You can mail us a check. You can contribute online. There's a number of ways. Heck, we'll drive over and take care of you if we need to. We need to keep the voice of the people on the air. We need to get Gavin Newsom out of office, and it's got to be done by we the people, because the politicians aren't going to do it. So, everybody out there, please contribute. RecallGavin2020.com. Keep the voice going. Keep Friday nights at the French Laundry on the air. Keep the voice of the people. It's KABC, Friday nights at the French Laundry, all over California and the country.
It wasn't me. Eating at the French Laundry. It wasn't me. You even had the clam chowder. It wasn't me. Sir, we got you on camera.
AM 790.
KABC. KABC News at 7:30. Happy Friday. I'm Sharon Reardon. The CDC and FDA are lifting their recommended pause of the Johnson & Johnson coronavirus vaccine. It had been put on hold as health officials looked into several cases of rare blood clotting in people who got the vaccine, including at least 2 women who died a few weeks after receiving it. Deputy Superintendent Megan Riley has been tapped to serve as interim superintendent of the Los Angeles Unified School District while officials search for a replacement for Austin Butner, who announced yesterday he'll step down when his contract expires June 30th. Riley has been in charge of business services and operations since June of 2019. And there's another sign our local economy is saying, action.
The number of applications for filming permits in the Los Angeles area increased by 45% in March compared to February and reached its highest levels during the COVID-19 pandemic. That's according to Film LA, the nonprofit agency that coordinates film permitting in our area. Kevin Tripp, KABC News.
The market's closed in the green.
Make a better breakfast choice at Wendy's in the morning with the Honey Butter Chicken Biscuit. Right now for only $1.99. Delicious honey butter is smeared on crispy chicken, sandwiched between flaky biscuits, all for just $1.99 at participating Wendy's for a limited time. Choose wisely, choose Wendy's.
News sponsored by Wendy's Breakfast. KABC SoCal weather, cloudy tonight with lows in the 50s. Mostly cloudy tomorrow morning, becoming partially cloudy by noon. Highs in the 60s at the beaches, mid-60s to the low 70s for the inland and valley areas. Currently at 60 degrees in Brea, 59 in Brentwood. The 25K weekday payday is back on 790 KABC. Listen every hour weekdays between 8 a.m. and 5:30 for your shot at $100 and possibly $25,000 on 790 KABC. Traffic is next, then more Friday night at the French Laundry.
KABC, dependable traffic right now. A SIG alert still in full effect as you drive between Diamond Bar and the city of Brea. 57 southbound at Brea Canyon Road. An earlier accident still takes out the right-hand lane, and the 57 south slow going from the 60 down to Lambert Road. Now let's head to the 91 eastbound at Lincoln. That's in Corona. Some good news here. A big rig that was in lanes has been cleared away, but the 91 east Your stop and go from Green River to the 15 freeway. Also a slow ride tonight on the 101 Hollywood freeway. Traffic heaviest from Vine Street to the 4 level. Northbound side of the 101, you're tapping brakes from the East LA interchange to Glendale Boulevard. That's dependable traffic. I'm Mike Morris, AM 790, KABC.
At Eide Bailly, we're in business because you are in business. Our team of more than 2,500 CPAs and business advisors is focused on one thing: you. Eide Bailly. What inspires you inspires us.
With no fees or minimums on checking and savings accounts, banking with Capital One is like the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Kind of like Taylor Swift choosing what to wear.
It's looking kind of chilly out today. I think I'll go with a cardigan.
Yep, even easier than that. And with our top-rated app, you can bank anytime, anywhere, making Capital One an even easier decision. That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
New consumer accounts only. Approval required. Terms apply. Capital One NA, member FDIC.
Some people take the straight path in life. But at Arizona State University, we respect your twists and turns. They make our online students more driven to excel in their professional lives. That's why our personalized suite of services empowers you with innovative resources and staff that sticks with you. Make your next turn with one of our 200-plus programs at ASU, a top 10 university for online bachelor's programs. Tap to learn more or visit us at asuonline.asu.edu.
Project Shine makes it easy for good people to connect with great causes. Visit Volunteer Match and brighten someone's day today.
Go to KABC.com now to connect with Project Shine. It's Friday night at the French Laundry. On the menu tonight, A Better California with Executive Chef Orrin Heatley, Maitre d' Mike Netter, and the wise cashier, Randy Economy.
Well, let me start with a bong. Since Orrin's not here, we have a couple donations in. One's Bill from Glendale. We appreciate it. Randy, Eric, I think you're both back. Randy, you're back, right? Eric, you're back, right? Okay. You guys leave me. You abandoned the restaurant. Leave me here to handle everything. I'm a little bit insulted. And we're not unionizing, by the way, which was the subject we were on.
Mike, I was, I'm the fill-in chef today. I was sauteing up some branzino and some mushrooms, and then, and I was talking about AB5, and who knows, maybe somebody in the governor's office could smell the fish coming and disconnected me.
Let me tell you, I don't believe in conspiracy theories, but there's something fishy going on behind the scenes in the kitchen tonight. I'll tell you. I don't know what's going on. Don't know who's pulling the plugs out of the wall, but we're not going to stand for it, Gavin.
No, Gavin, whether you like it or not, Gavin, you're going to be recalled. And I think that's the part that really has the government. When I say the government and the state, very nervous. And it's really sad. And we're going to talk about law and order and criminal justice system in a second with our guest, because it's really sad when our entire state government is under the control of one man, and that spills over to our police departments, to our streets. There's no checks, there's no balances. What happened to the justice scale we grew up with as a kid where justice is blind? It doesn't seem to be there anymore, does it?
No, and it's not just the governor. It's there is a supermajority of Democrats in the legislature. That's why I call it the Politburo, because anything the Democrat elected officials want to pass, they can pass. There's some great Republicans up there, but there are not enough of them to stop anything the Democrats want because of this super majority. So you combine this super majority of so many of them are far left with this terrible governor. And you end up with laws that, for example, have created a criminal's paradise out here, which I'm sure we're going to be talking about today. You've created this AB5 situation, which I was talking about before somebody disconnected me, and I'll be happy to go through. I'll be happy to finish up with that if you want.
Well, let's go to our guest and do that in another segment, Eric, because we've got Topo Padilla in here, and Topo. Eric, just full disclosure, is an attorney. I didn't feel safe talking to you without an attorney present. Tell us a little bit about who you are. I've had you on our town hall before. You're absolutely fantastic. Topo.
Yeah, well, it's good. Good evening, everyone. It's nice to be here. And, I've been involved in the criminal justice system for 38 years. I'm a bail bondsman. But as a bail bondsman, people look at us just as getting people out of jail, and that's all we do. And they think about the neon signs and the smoke-filled rooms and the bounty hunters, and that is about the furthest thing from the totality of what we are. And so my involvement in this criminal justice system is not just about getting people out of jail. It's about making people, be held accountable if they are arrested, going to court, helping them hopefully change their lives, helping their families restore the family, and really and truly, that's who we are. And it makes me sick and pains me to have gone through what I've gone through, being at the forefront of it as a president of the state association, taking these punches left and right for no good reason. If there was good, sound reason to say, hey, we don't need a bail bond industry in this state, I would be like, you're right. I'm just making money off it. But the reality is, I know what we do in this criminal justice system, and I know that Eric and his involvement, what he does, he knows that if you don't have people in the courtroom, you have no justice.
That's right. That is right, Topo. And I'll tell you, perhaps it's not surprising, but you see this piece of work that Newsom just appointed, the state's attorney general, top law enforcement officer in the state of California. This guy has been one of the for years he's been trying to do away with bail. He is another George Gasconi, who is frankly the communist district attorney we have in Los Angeles County, who supports criminals and can't stand victims. And this is what we have in this state. It's remarkable how they support criminals to the vast detriment of all of us, all the great people of California who are now the victims of this terrible rising crime that's happening.
And I think it is. Go ahead, Topo.
Sad. But no, go ahead. It is sad. It's true. Go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, I think it's interesting that for all the people out there listening to the show, and we keep this on the air with donations for the common people, because you have people like Gavin Newsom and Garcetti and these politicians up and down the state. It's interesting. Gavin Newsom doesn't have to, he's surrounded by armed guards in a big house. Why does he care if criminals are kept in jail? And I'm not trying to be facetious here. It doesn't seem, why would it matter to these people? They're out of touch. They don't live. These big time politicians don't live amongst us anymore. Wouldn't you agree with that, Topo?
Yeah, I do. And I got to tell you, you think about what we are all looking at. And I had a good conversation with my buddy today, and I said, I don't use the word unbelievable anymore. You would think this is unbelievable. This isn't real. This is surreal. It does feel surreal. When you talked moments ago about Rob Bonta, and I know Rob, and I obviously dealt with him when he was here as an assemblyman and the bail things. Rob's actually, he's not a bad guy. He's actually a nice guy. He grew up here in Sacramento. Nice. He's not like Bob Hertzberg, who's a complete narcissist. But these people, they just get caught up in this movement, and they forget about their actual duty to have good, sound laws to preserve public safety, to make our state good, to make it a place that people want to live. And their movement, I always say, who are they trying to appease? I don't want to get into races and religions and colors, but who in the hell are you trying to appease when you throw dirt and rocks at, the taxpayers, the people that are paying for all of this? And it's like we're forgotten about. And I'm not saying we should be before these people that need social services. By no means am I saying that. But by God, you darn well better not forget about us, because this latest tax that, say, Biden wants to increase, increasing as much as he does, these people are not smart enough to understand the unintended consequences that will happen with that. So,
let me just jump in. Let me just jump in there on this guy Bonta. Just for the audience, Rob Bonta is the guy that Newsom just appointed to replace Becerra to be Attorney General. And he might be a nice guy, but he might be. Or at least he might on the exterior appear to be that way. But that's the way Biden appears to be. That's the way Gascon appears to be. These people are wolves in sheep's clothing. And that makes them even more dangerous. That makes a guy like Bonta more dangerous because he comes up, he acts like he's doing this for the people, and then he supports laws that support, decriminalizing, emptying the prisons, getting away with bail, and increasing crime for all, hardworking, honest, decent Californians. So, I don't buy into the niceness anymore because at the end of the day, their policies and what they're doing to this state are downright evil.
Yeah. And Eric, I guess I say that. I said this the other day on the Facebook town hall. Everybody hates, we hate Newsom, blah, blah, blah. And Eric, you weren't there to hear this, but I said this. This is truly, hating that man is one thing. Despising the people that voted for him because they didn't understand the wolves in the sheep clothing, as you just said moments ago. Despising the man. And my wife said, hey, if he ever becomes governor of the state, we're moving out. Well, we still live here because I said, honey, I'm not willing to quit fighting. I'm not willing to run. I want to fight this war. And this is a war against these people that, and if you were to ask me to describe them, all they want to do is check boxes. Look, we have a man of this race who's our Attorney General. We have a woman who is now our Secretary of State. Let's check that box. And I got to say this, and it may be offensive to some people. If I was one of those people, and I'm Mexican American, my father's 100% Mexican, my mom's white, but it doesn't matter, does it? If I'm qualified for that job, and I was to get the job because I'm half Mexican, I would be ashamed. I'd be embarrassed. I know I'd say no. Did you pick me because I'm the best guy, or did you pick me because you want to check a box? So I'll say this. What's wrong with our state and truly what's wrong with our country right now, we check boxes with unqualified people. Rob Bonta is not a qualified Attorney General. He is certainly not the top cop. There's a lot of other people. There's some Democrats that I would have said, hey, if you're going to make somebody be the top cop, that guy could be that guy. But he is certainly not qualified to be our Attorney General. So I want to clarify that 100%.
Before we go to break here, and I'd like to stay on a little bit of next segment too. I want to tell you what I find really offensive. What I find really offensive is our Attorney General, our Senator, our Secretary of State, I don't care what color they are. I don't care what race they are. I don't care what religion they are. But they're not elected by the people of California. And there's just something wrong with that. The people of California ought to have a voice in that. Just like this radio show is your voice, I'm reminded that we need to make sure that we keep this voice on the air. So please donate. We'll shout you out at recallgavin2020.com. We're going to roll the break. It's Friday nights at the French Laundry. KABC 790, streaming all over.
Forget that I had Bandolindo gatherings. Just a prime example of a really big hypocrisy.
KABC Dependable Traffic right now have a cleanup operation that has a right-hand lane block. This is the 57 southbound right at Brea Canyon Road. 57 south, you're slow from the 60 down to Lambert Road in the city of Brea. 57 northbound, no delays from the Orange Crush interchange up to the 210 in San Dimas. Slow going right now on the 110 heading northbound, heading to downtown Los Angeles. You're tapping brakes from Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard up to the 4-level. South 101, slow going from Sunset Boulevard to the 4-level interchange in downtown Los Angeles. As far as the 110 southbound is concerned, you're tapping the brakes a little bit between Exposition and Gage. That's Dependable Traffic. I'm Mike Morris, AM 790, KABC.
Join us on the award-winning Great Indoors podcast, where we explore the many facets of societal change in our new world. We chat with renowned technologists. We discuss bringing 5G to farmers. We hear stories of leadership through the lens of Generation Z. We are wowed by how devices are improving our lives. We also laugh about our home office of today through the eyes of Dwight Schrute from The Office. Listen now on all good podcast outlets.
With no fees or minimums on checking and savings accounts, banking with Capital One is like the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Kind of like Taylor Swift choosing what to wear.
It's looking kind of chilly out today. I think I'll go with a cardigan.
Yep, even easier than that. And with our top-rated app, you can bank anytime, anywhere, making Capital One an even easier decision. That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
New consumer accounts only. Approval required. Terms apply. Capital One N.A. member FDIC.
Rolling up our sleeves to get things done. That's what we do in Santa Clara County. The COVID vaccine is a great example. It's a safe, effective way to protect yourself and others. And it's free. So roll up your sleeve against COVID-19. At Santa Clara Family Health Plan, we hope you'll get the shot to keep everyone healthy. Learn more at www.scfhp.com/COVIDvax. That's www.scfhp.com/COVIDVAX.
The 25K weekday payday on AM 790 KABC is back. Listen for the national keyword between 8 and 6 for your shot at $100 and possibly much more. 25,000 more. Full rules at KABC.com. You've only had an appetizer. This is your Friday night at the French Laundry with Chef Oren Heatley, maitre d' Mike Netter, and head cashier Randy Economy.
Welcome back, everybody, to our virtual restaurant about California politics, the state of California, and why we know we need to get rid of Governor Gavin Newsom. We're going to talk in the next hour about election integrity, where Eric's involved in this lawsuit. But before we get to that, people want specific things to do and specific knowledge. Topo, tell them how they can get some specific knowledge on law and order, what bail bonds people really do, what a benefit you are. If I want to know more, where do I go?
Well, again, as I said, I'm the president of one of the state associations here in California, and I'm also on the national board. I sit as the chair of the Council of all the presidents throughout this country, and I'm very involved intimately in the bail industry, which is very intimately involved in the criminal justice system throughout this country. So I would say, to answer your question, to say there's one specific area to go to about bail bonds and what we do, there's many things I could send you to, but what I want to say is this to your listeners and hopefully educate them, is that, you know, law enforcement, and Oren Heatley, I've known Oren for a very long time, and I've known him through the law enforcement community. He's up here where I'm at. These men and women of law enforcement, and this is important, if I could say just this, they do not leave their houses with an objective of going out there and checking boxes and making arrests of people of color, of people of certain ethnic or race or religion. They do not do that. And it absolutely disgusts me. I had the great honor of speaking at an event for Crime Victims United with several police chiefs, the sheriff of the county. And I just want these folks to know that more and more people like Gavin Newsom throw rocks at law enforcement. They are empowering people to break the law. They are empowering people to not listen to our law enforcement when they say stop, when they say get down, when they say drop it. People like him empower him. And you know, that's what I'm saying. These people are going to continue, and they're just going to get worse and worse. And unfortunately, you know, people like Gavin Newsom, people like Rob Bonta, and I know this isn't about Rob Bonta, but those folks, those two men are now in charge of persecuting law enforcement. And what people better realize, and I talked to the sheriff of Sacramento this morning, Scott Jones, and I said, Sheriff, I'm praying for one thing. I'm praying the men and women of your agency and others in my community don't stop doing their job out of fear of losing theirs or going to jail, because, you know, this governor and this attorney general will get in front, just like they did the other day with that unfortunate incident that occurred back east with those two young ladies, and one unfortunately dying because she didn't listen to law enforcement. But that's what she's been told to do for the last 2 years, is the hell with law enforcement, stand up against them. They just out to kill you because of your color of your skin. And that is a fallacy. That is wrong. That is gross. That's irresponsible. And that's really and truly my message that I want to deliver.
Topo, thank you very much. Randy, you have any questions there? You've been ringing it up unequivocally silent here. Randy?
No, Topo, thank you so much for joining us tonight. You're fantastic.
Thank you very, very much, Topo. We appreciate it. Wait. Something. I hear a noise from the kitchen. It's Eric.
Topo, I just want to say that everything you just said was so profound, so true, and it is exactly what we are dealing with now. We do not have, frankly, I call this a leaderless state. We don't have one elected official in this state that has the guts and the character to stick up for our brave men and women of law enforcement, especially through these dark times. They're followers, and they are, and what they are doing by their inaction is putting law enforcement more and more in jeopardy, and they're putting all of us more and more in jeopardy. As you said so well, they are emboldening these crazies on the other side.
And I think that's
it's a real tragedy. It's a real tragedy, and my best friend worked with Orrin in the sheriff's department here in Yolo County, and I say this, and it's really sad. He's got a few months before he retires, and he put himself on a do not call list. If there's any riots and they need to be called out, he does not want to go out. This man has spent 30 years protecting his community and fighting crime, and he is afraid. He is definitely afraid of going out because he may handcuff somebody improperly according to today's new standards. He may say something to somebody according to today's standards. They've moved the goalposts on law enforcement, and these men and women are at jeopardy of losing everything they've worked so hard for. And it is disgusting. And so, back, if I could say this in closing about my industry, today, unfortunately, there was a situation that occurred in Palm Springs, and a bail agent saved the life of police officers in Palm Springs. A bail agent did. You see, we're not a bunch of idiots. We're not a bunch of renegades. We're not a bunch of rogue people. We are men and women who take our job seriously to make sure that people go to court. And if they don't go to court, we go out and we look for these people. We locate them. We work with their families. We work with our informants. We do this at no cost to the taxpayers. And I want to say this about Los Angeles. The folks in Los Angeles better understand this. In 2018, there was over 2 million active bench warrants. That is over 2 million people that have missed court. The law enforcement officers and deputies in Los Angeles don't have time to go look for those people. And here's the problem. Less than 3% of those people were out on bail. The rest of them were out on unsecured release. So that's the thing I want to say about our industry and what we do. And that's who we are. And to get rid of us, sure, I'm trying to save my job. It's because I know what I do in this criminal justice system.
Topo, thank you very much. We're running toward a break here. Really appreciate you. Look forward to talking to you again later. I think, it's interesting that all people,
Topo.
Thanks, Topo, regardless of race, creed, color, who you are, want safety. They want to be safe. They want to live to do whatever they want to do and be able to live within the parameters of the legal system and not be annoyed, not be accosted. It's funny because you don't hear a lot how many lives are saved by the men in blue, do you, gentlemen? Randy?
Well,
I want to give Randy a chance to weigh in. He's been a little silent. I'm worried about him, Eric.
It's hard to get a word in edgewise with you guys, so but I get it. I understand. Listen, our hats off to the men in blue and the women in blue. Without them, we would literally live in a lawless state. So they're the heart and soul of our democracy right now, since our politicians are not, and that's why we have to work so hard to get this governor out of office.
We need one of the. Go ahead. We got about 30 seconds here.
Well, no, I'll talk after the break. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay. I want to say that, when somebody is out on bail or does something that they're accused of, they need to be accountable. When our politicians are out there and do something or don't do something, they need to be accountable. The difference is that our politicians need to be transparent. And the problem we have today is we're not really sure. We don't trust the system. When we talked before about a lot of the things that Gavin's doing, he's not accountable for them. We don't know really with these no-bid contracts I've talked about before, is there a crime being committed because he's not being transparent. And this is the reason I think we have so many people out there that signed the petition because they aren't trusting their state government. And I think that's a real important thing to note. As we roll to break, I want to tell you again, we'll get to our two callers right after 8 o'clock. It's 1-800-222-5222. Contribute, recallgavin2020.com. Keep us on the air, 790 KABC, Recall Gavin, Friday nights at the French Laundry.
It wasn't me. Southern California's undisputed talk leader, KABC, Los Angeles, Orange County. Get it right.
KABC News at 8 o'clock. I'm Sharon Reardon. Good evening. The CDC and FDA are lifting their recommended pause of the Johnson & Johnson coronavirus vaccine. It had been put on hold as health officials looked into several cases of rare blood clotting in people who received the vaccine. Earlier today, a CDC advisory panel said the benefits outweighed the risks. As a result, J&J has agreed to put a warning label on the vaccine. Caitlyn Jenner is running for governor of California.
The Republican makes it official by filing the paperwork as Democrat Governor Gavin Newsom faces a potential recall election. Jenner is criticizing Democrats for the way they've governed the state, describing Newsom's time in charge as disastrous, slamming him for coronavirus-related lockdowns. The transgender woman notes that she has called California home for almost 50 years. She's promising to visit with Californians all over the state in the near future. She won an Olympic gold medal in the decathlon in the 1976 Olympics in Montreal when she was Bruce Jenner. Jim Roop, KABC News.
A 17-year-old boy who admitted he was driving a Lamborghini that slammed into a woman in West Los Angeles at more than 100 miles an hour has been placed on house arrest pending his next court date. The family of Monique Munoz wants the defendant to serve prison time for the fatal February crash. And Honda is going all electric by 2040. Matt Mattinson has more.
Japan's NHK News says Honda Motor wants all the vehicles it sells to be electric or fuel cell driven by the year 2040. The company plans to invest about $46 billion on research and development over the next few years. The news comes a day after Japan pledged to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by nearly 50% by 2030. It also makes Honda the first Japanese car maker to steer completely away from gas-powered vehicles.
KABC Sports, the Dodgers and the Padres tonight at home, and the Clippers beat the Rockets on the road, 109-104, and that's sports on the home of the USC Trojans. The markets closed in the green. The Dow gained 227 points. NASDAQ went up by 198, and the S&P 500 gained 45 points. KABC SoCal weather. Mostly cloudy this evening with lows in the low to mid-50s. Mostly cloudy tomorrow morning, becoming partially cloudy by noon. Highs in the 60s at the beaches, mid-60s to low 70s for the inland and valley areas. Currently, it's 60 degrees in Placentia, 59 in Pasadena, and it's 58 degrees in Pacoima. Listen for your shot at $25,000, the national keyword in the 25K weekday payday contest, weekdays between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m., right here on 790 KABC. Traffic is next, then stay with us for more Friday Night at the French Laundry.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone.
Done.
By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
AM 790 KABC.
KABC dependable traffic right now. 91 eastbound in Corona. 91 east right at Lincoln Avenue. A stalled big rig has been cleared out of the way. But the 91 eastbound through the Santa Ana Canyon heading toward Corona and Riverside, you're still slow between the 71 and 15 freeway junctions. 57 southbound right at Brea Canyon Road. An earlier SIG alert should be cleared very soon. We had an accident that had the right-hand lane taken away. Earlier we had a solid backup on the 57 southbound from the 60 down to Lambert Road, but that slowing has gone, so that means that accident's in the clearing stages. 57 northbound, a good ride from the Orange Crush interchange up to the 210. That's dependable traffic. I'm Mike Morris, AM 790, KABC.
¿Estás buscando una señal para empezar a moverte otra vez?
Debería de tratar las clases de Body Pump and In Shape. Realmente no he hecho nada durante la cuarentena. Tal vez no.
¿Qué tal yoga? ¿Te encantaba la clase de yoga en In Shape?
Pues no me he estado estirando.
¿O qué tal la corredora?
Ay, pero no tengo resistencia.
¿Levantar pesas? ¿Bailar en la clase de zumba, tenis, ciclismo, HIIT, pilates?
¿Sabes? La zumba suena divertido.
Inscríbete ahora y aprovecha 0 de inscripción por tiempo limitado en InShape.com.
Spot for a smorgasbord of information from RecallGavin2020.com in a tasty, non-caloric, gluten-free bite. It's Friday night at the French Laundry with Chef Oren Heatley, maitre d' Mike Netter, and head cashier Randy Economy.
All the leaves are brown. All the leaves are brown. And the sky is gray. And the sky is gray. California.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to our virtual restaurant where the cuisine is always California politics, with the main entree being the recall of Gavin Newsom. In the first hour, you might have missed, but the SOS, who should be transparent and accountable, has been very transparent that they're not very accountable, as our report has not yet out, showing that we're sure it will, that we've hit the final number to get this recall on the ballot. You missed a little bit about Law and Order, where we had Topo on. I'm accompanied tonight by Eric in the kitchen, Randy as cashier, the political pirate R.B. Gargar, right, Randy?
That's right, baby.
Randy, I hear you have to. I think we should take some callers. What do you think?
I do, but I have a few things I do want to say, so let's take some callers, and I need to go ahead and make a few announcements.
Make your announcements, Randy. I think that's important.
I'm going to be on Fox News at 9:30 tonight, West Coast time, and 12:30 East Coast time to talk specifically about the emergence of Caitlyn Jenner into the campaign for governor here in California. I think today has been we haven't talked about the subject matter yet, but I know it is probably the one and only thing people are on their minds with right now as far as politics in California is concerned. She's trending worldwide, number one, in regards to people talking about this online, about her entrance into this race. So I'm going to be on tonight. I'm going to be debating a guy who's going to be left on the side tracks, if you know what I mean. I'm going to physically run him over, and he's a liberal loudmouth who's going to try to take on the pirate tonight on Fox News, starting at 9:30 here on the West Coast and 12:30 back east. And I also want to give a special shout out to Bobby Jeffries, who is running for a U.S. Senate seat back east, and I think he's exactly the kind of people that we need to get in office around the country, and I'm excited.
Randy, explain to everybody where they can catch us on Fox. We're going to post it on our website, but where would they see this? And I'm not trying to be facetious. A lot of people don't know how to get Fox.
Fox News. People don't know how to get to Fox News. They turn on their television, they get their remote control in their hands, and they go to Fox News.
So you're going to be nationwide?
Nationwide, and in about half an hour, and I'm going to have to jump off the phone because I've got my driver here to pick me up because I got to get to the studio.
Randy, that's what I was looking for. Randy, the political pirate, is going to be nationwide on Fox News talking about the latest political news of the day, and that is Caitlyn Jenner is running for governor.
That's right. I think it's the political earthquake that is being felt around the world, and I think since we're the ones who have made this campaign happen, and have made the people have made this campaign happen. The workers. This campaign is not about Caitlyn. It's about the opportunity for people like Caitlyn and anybody else to be able to run in this campaign. So we are not endorsing anybody. I wanted to get that completely clear to everybody right now. But again, it's just about the historic nature of what it is that we're doing and the impact that the people are having who have taken the heavy lifting to make this happen. So again, congratulations to everybody who's worked their tails off for the last year to make this thing happen. And again, on Monday, it's going to be another historic day, and it's going to be another busy news cycle. I have literally been on television 14 times today, and I'm not under exaggerating because of the interest of what it is that we're doing here in this historic nature. So it's allowing people like whether it be Antonio Villaraigosa, the former Democratic mayor of Los Angeles, or possibly somebody like Rick Grenell, who's a former ambassador to Germany. Or people like Caitlyn Jenner who want to go ahead and enter this race. It's because of the people. And I think this is going to be a very healthy conversation and dialogue we're going to have during the next several months. And welcome to the campaign, everybody.
And Randy, you bring up a majorly important point. It should be about the conversation for California, not a lot of the questions that you've been asked and I've been asked about. Who started the recall? Who are you guys? Right? Shouldn't it be about the California conversation and letting all kinds of people run to open it up? Isn't that what you preach all the time, Randy?
Well, we do, and you preach it too, and so does Orrin. And I mean, again, this campaign is about the people. And there's no better people to bid than to decide who's going to go ahead and govern California other than breaking news, the people. And it's not about political consultants, and it's not about machine politics. It's about people who have never been involved in a campaign before. To step up and saying, I think I want to be governor of California because I think I have the leadership skills. I think I have a vision. And whoever that is and whatever's going to happen, we're going to be okay.
Randy, God bless you for all you've done for this campaign. And I want everybody out there to take note of a couple important things. One is they put Randy on TV and leave me on radio, and there's good reason for that. Okay?
I don't know about that, Mike, but I'll tell you, when I sit behind it, it's amazing what hair and makeup specialists can do to make anybody look like a superstar on television. And I think we're all very thankful. And we've learned a lot about grooming tips the last 8 months being involved in this campaign, haven't we, Mike?
I know that, Randy. Thanks for all you're doing for us. And remember, to keep the campaign going, I'm going to stress again, to keep Randy on the air, me on the air, Eric on the air, Orrin on the air, most importantly, to keep you, the people, and the callers on the air, we do need you to donate to recallgavin2020.com to keep this show going. Randy, I know you got to run. We're behind on some callers here. All right? We look forward to seeing you on
Fox.
Fox.
Everybody. Don't forget, dial in, give us some money. We need that cash, guys. We need to be on the air.
And remember, any tips you were going to give Randy, give them to me.
Give us the mic. I'll pass the hat to you tonight, Mike. No problem.
I want to roll to Bianca in San Francisco. Bianca, how are you doing?
Hey, guys. Hi, guys.
Hi, Bianca.
Hi. Is Randy still there, or did he book?
He had to dive out. I was going to put you on with him, but he had to go, Bianca. You know how that goes.
Oh, I know. I'm usually on with him anyway. But, yeah, I was going to call in earlier, but then I found out you guys are having some technical difficulties, so I wanted to help shore things up there. I guess I'm needed now more than ever since Randy's taking a powder to go talk on Fox.
Well, Bianca, you got you, and before we roll the break, another one in San Francisco. Again, you're the liberal, as you broadcast yourself all the time, showing the broad spectrum of people that are against Gavin Newsom and for the recall, right?
Precisely, my friend. And you know, I'm not just the liberal, I'm the Bernie-crat. You know, and I'm also the person who's taking down Nancy Pelosi in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Bianca for SanFrancisco.org. You know, people can come there. They can give me money. I would love to get $1 from like Tulsa, because every time somebody gives me $1, that's $1. That's an arrow in the heart of Nancy Pelosi, and I would love to just see it come from Tulsa or Anchorage, whatever. I don't know how much time we have before the break, but I wanted to touch on some things earlier, if that's okay. You know, I know
Bianca, take about a minute here. Then I want to roll one more call on the break. I love your sense of timing on our show, by the way. So, talk to me for about 60 seconds and tell me what you want to cover.
Well, I know, by the way, Eric is a little off over there, but, when Democrats, like, me and the rest of the squad, we plan these programs like, no cash bail and all that stuff. The thing is that they're implemented in a very half-assed fashion. And so that's why, you see things coming back. So, people just want like the kind of superficial action without the follow through. And that's where that's where the rubber hits the road. That's where things go really south. For instance, I'm against, the whole sanctuary city thing. I think that's inhumane. I'm against hate crime, legislation, because that doesn't work. And you shouldn't legislate how people should try and think. I'm for solutions to these problems. And, in the same way that, remember after all these shootings, like, Pulse in Vegas, everyone's going, it's all about mental health or gun control, which is both of those things are crap. It's about the fact that people are just not being served.
Bianca, I want to stop you on that point right there because it's really powerful, if you don't mind, for more than you know. Because a judge this week in L.A. called out the city and said, basically, put your money where your mouth is, $1 billion of it, because you guys keep talking about fixing the homeless problem, but you're not doing it. And we don't have time for permanent housing. And I just want to make that point that what you just said is incredibly powerful because he called out the city of L.A. and said, put your money where your mouth is.
Should bring up to San Francisco. I could use a guy like that. The thing is that Newsom still can't get the wealth tax over. And that's what we put guys like that in office for. When I say I'm a democratic socialist and when me and the rest of the squad, we talk about our programs, we're not about taxing the middle class, the lower class, even the upper class. We're about getting people who have 3 digits of $1 million in net worth. Those are our guys. Those are the ones who are going to pay for all the programs we're talking about.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. Bianca, thank you as always for coming on. You've always had such a great perspective here. Appreciate it. We're going to go ahead and roll the break in 1 second here. Everybody, it's Friday nights at the French Laundry. But before I explode on the radio, remember, please contribute. RecallGavin2020.com. Keep us on the air. It's me and Eric, 2 people manning the restaurants. Friday nights at the French Laundry, 790 KABC, streaming all over California.
I forget that I had Bandolindo gatherings. Just a prime example of a really big hypocrisy.
KABC, dependable traffic right now. 57 southbound at Brea Canyon Road. You had a SIG alert problem. It was an accident in the right-hand lane. That crash cleared away in both directions of the 57. A good ride from the 210 to the Orange Crush interchange. Now it's on to the Golden State Freeway portion of the 5 heading southbound right at Burbank Boulevard. An accident's in the right-hand lane. South 5, you're slow from Glen Oaks Boulevard down to Alameda. And up ahead a little bit more reduced speeds on the 5 southbound from the 2, the Glendale Freeway, down to the 110. And the 101 southbound, the Hollywood Freeway, yep, you're slow there as well from Sunset Boulevard to the 4-level interchange in downtown L.A. That's dependable traffic. I'm Mike Morris, AM 790, KABC.
With no fees or minimums on checking and savings accounts, banking with Capital One is like the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Kind of like choosing Charles Barkley in a pickup game.
We'll take Barkley.
Ha! First pick. Sorry, kids.
Yep, even easier than that. And with our top-rated app, you can bank anytime, anywhere, making Capital One an even easier decision.
Okay, here's the plan. Pass me the ball every time.
This is banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
New consumer accounts only. Approval required. Terms apply. Capital One N.A. member FDIC.
Hi, I'm Taylor Owen, and I host a podcast called Big Tech. I know, you hear a lot about this topic. We've gone from completely ignoring big tech to blaming it for all our problems. The reality is, technology doesn't operate in a vacuum. It's intertwined with our politics, our economies, and our values. It's a big, tangled web, and I'm excited to try and untangle it with you. Subscribe to Big Tech, wherever you get your podcasts.
With K-12 Career Learning, I'm one of a growing number of high school students preparing for a great future.
These schools are tuition-free and online, a program where I can get a traditional education with state-certified teachers
And take electives
to explore fields I'm interested in.
with K-12 career learning,
I'm ready for college,
career, or maybe a little bit of both.
These schools may not be for everyone, but they're here for anyone.
I'm one. Are you one too?
K-12 Career Learning. Education for anyone.
Dan Bongino.
A characteristic of being a liberal is ignoring common sense. It's collective stupidity.
Weekday afternoons at 5, right after Ben Shapiro as part of the Power Drive Home on AM 790 KABC. You've only had an appetizer. This is your Friday night at the French Laundry with Chef Orrin Heatley, maitre d' Mike Netter, and head cashier Randy Economy.
Welcome back, everybody, to the show, which is all about California politics, California cuisine, about what we can do to change this state, and starting with the recall of Gavin Newsom. Listen, everybody out there, if you haven't heard, there was supposed to be a report out this week, which was Monday. They're late with it. They've been transparent about it, but not accountable exactly as to why it's late. But we expect Monday at the first part of next week for this fight to recall Gavin Newsom to accelerate into the next phase. That's why we ask you all the time, please make sure to help keep this show on the air. We plan to be in the air for May. Keep it up. We're going to shout out some donations here in a second. But in the first, Eric, I want to go back to Eric. And Eric, what do you say we take a couple callers?
You're the boss. You're the head of this restaurant, Mike. So,
well, I'm the maitre d'. If I call out the customers and you don't serve it up, we're in trouble, Eric. So I tell you what, I'm going to call out a little. Go ahead.
The more food we can cook, the better we do.
So let's call out a little San Francisco cuisine. Magalini, you've been on hold for over an hour, all the way from San Francisco.
You guys are always worth the wait, because this is Magdalena Recall Radio, and this is the Magdalena Recall Groupie.
How are you? How is life up in the Bay Area today?
Oh, man, I like Bianca. She was a trip. I sent a bunch of my stuff on the Instagram. I'm going to help her run for Congress. You know what? I got to tell you something. San Francisco, man, they are just like, I don't know what to make. Let me give you an example here, okay? I was talking to a friend. She's a liberal friend I've known for years. I try to explain, because she thinks that Gavin should be both on yes or no free call and be one of the people running for governor at the same time. Now, I have to tell you, this is what I deal with in San Francisco all the time. I always remember, he was mayor here for 2 terms, so I know how bad Gavin is. And it's like, and we got a mayor, I won't even go there. So the thing is that Gavin Newsom needs to go, because he did bad things here for 8 years, and he's doing bad things over there. And I just have to tell you, the sooner the better. And have you guys heard the news of what the Congress did this week? They were passing legislation to make Washington, D.C. a U.S. state. Oh, yeah. Don't they have to go through a constitutional amendment to do this, y'all? Or am I being not right about this?
I'm going to defer to the attorney. Eric, is that true? I don't think they can just declare themselves a state, can they?
Well, I'm not sure that's subject to a constitutional amendment. But what's remarkable is that it's being even seriously talked about by this government. And last week, by the way, they were talking about packing the Supreme Court, and it's one thing after another every week. You have this majority in the House. You've got this tie, which goes to the Democrats because of the vice president in the Senate, and then you've got this very sad creature who's the president of the United States right now, who I don't even think he knows what he's signing. They hand him things. They say, do it. This will make you look like a nice guy. And he signs it. But it is stunning what we're watching. And the reason they want to turn D.C. into the 51st state, which is unheard of, frankly, is because that is majority Democrat. That'll give them 2 more senators in the U.S. Senate, to give them a solid majority over there, and I'll give them at least one more congressperson in Congress. It's just a travesty.
Yeah, and Magdalena, thank you very much. We're going to keep rolling here. Thank you every week for that you call in. It's interesting, Eric, as you described, Biden sounds a lot like Newsom, right? Signs everything that puts in front of him, a way to, if you will, stack it against what the people actually want. I'm going to do some bongs, pretending I'm Oren right now, if you will. I'm going to call out some people that have been kind enough to donate tonight. We've got Lester from Rancho Cordova. We have Yai Fan from Cupertino. I'm not as fast as Oren. Bear with me, folks. We have Catherine, who donated tonight from Costa Mesa. We have Minavera. Ooh, I like the sound of that. From Watsonville. We have Bill from Glendale. People up and down the state, thank you very much for everything you give us. We want to be, and we are, the voice of the people. Remember, this radio show needs to continue because we, the people, need to make sure that 14% that are undecided that Gavin needs to go, get convinced that Gavin needs to go. And just a reminder, too, that next week on recallgavin2020.com, we will have merchandise. We will have things to push out so you can put signs up, so you can gather everywhere that you go. I want to go next to Don from Sacramento, who has a comment about the recall on Newsom. Don, how you doing?
It's Dan.
Oh, it's Dan. Sorry, Dan.
That's okay.
Well, I got the D right, you know?
In the end. Anyway, I wanted to make a comment, and I had a question on it. Well, first of all, Californians depend very much on their vehicles. And I believe Governor Newsom signed a bill or an executive order banning the sale of gasoline and diesel vehicles starting in 2030. Is that correct?
It's actually it's 2035, and he actually signed it while the hills of California were on fire, which of course is exactly what we needed at that very moment, worrying about the year 2035 while we're riddled with COVID and the hills are on fire. What better to think 15 years ahead? Who cares about tomorrow? But the reality is that bill, by executive order, sound familiar, bans the sale of new vehicles in California that are gas and powered diesel. You're absolutely correct. Unfortunately, like with most things that Gavin does, really doesn't have a plan for it. He just declares things that sound good in the press, right, Dan?
Yes, exactly. And Californians, more than in any other state, people in any other state depend upon their vehicles to get to work, to take their children to school, or go shopping. Are they all going to switch over to electric cars, and then we'll have to go to the shopping centers or the grocery stores and wait half an hour or an hour for them to charge?
Well, can't they take the bullet train
in their garage?
Can't they take the bullet train? Oh, that doesn't work. Damn it.
You know, those are great points you're making, Dan. And the crazy thing with so many of these dictates that are coming out of the Politburo and out of the signature of the tyrant up there, the vast majority of Californians are against them. The vast majority of Californians support law enforcement. The vast majority of all races, creeds, and colors, the vast majority of all Californians support law and order and want to be protected from crime. The vast majority of Californians don't want this ridiculous bill that he signed to prevent gas-powered cars, and on and on and on. And yet they keep dropping this stuff on us.
And the other thing that Governor Newsom has done, he's been very energetic about enforcing gun control. And I know the police do a great job trying to protect us. However, they can't be everywhere. People need to be secure in their homes and in their lives. And they need to be able to have access to firearms in order to protect themselves.
Absolutely.
I think
absolutely.
and go ahead, Eric.
Well, absolutely. Our Second Amendment rights are becoming more and more important with every passing day, with everything we're seeing going on, with what these folks running this state and this country are doing with respect to, for example, law enforcement. We need to be able to protect ourselves, and so there is no more important time than I can remember that our Second Amendment rights are as valuable and important as we're seeing now, and also because of this growing tyranny we're seeing in government across the land.
And they're in so much danger, our Second Amendment rights.
Yeah, they are. And Dan, but you bring up in a backwards way a really important point with your initial point about gas-powered cars. California has... The average state has maybe 100 gun laws on the books. The average state, all right? We need some restraints. Our Second Amendment rights are guaranteed. I want to be very clear there. California has something like 1,100 gun laws on the books. We just make laws for the sake of publicity. My point is we announce things like no gas-powered cars in 2035. Well, what's the plan, Gavin? I don't care. I'm out of here. Right? We announce things like, we're going to do something for the homeless in Los Angeles. We're investing $1 billion. Judge asks, where's the money? I don't know. We didn't really think anybody would ask us about that. Gavin Newsom and his team of politicians are really good at making announcements, but you notice they never come with a plan, Dan?
No, the money has to come from us, and once they take the money away from us, that means fewer jobs in the private sector and jobs in the public sector.
True.
You are taking away the private sector. The private sector continues to shrink. And that's where this behemoth government gets its money, from the private sector.
Right. And it comes back to transparency and accountability, right? I mean, when you take our money, what do you do with it? How do you spend it? You spend $300 million on election machines. We're going to get to that next segment. That most of LA didn't care if they had, because it apparently is good for the LA election officials. Yet, no accounting of where the money went, how it was spent, no transparency exactly. So the reality is, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, we have to trust that our government is doing the right thing. And I don't think that's the warm and rosy feeling that Gavin Newsom gives people today. We're going to just thank you very much, Dan, for your phone call. We're to discuss a lot more about election integrity, about school statistics after the break here. Everybody out there, remember, call in 1-800-222-5222. Contribute if you can at recallgavin2020.com. Keep us on the air. Call in, join the conversation. Recallgavin2020.com. It's Friday nights at the French Laundry, KABC 790, all over California.
To be indoor eaters, they are more contagious after all. They're mouth breathers. Just tell them it's important to follow all the law. How any violation might kill a grandma.
AM 790.
KABC News at 8:30. I'm Sharon Reardon. Good evening. States can start giving out Johnson & Johnson's coronavirus vaccine again. The CDC and FDA lifted their recommended pause of the single-dose shot. Earlier, a CDC advisory panel said the benefits outweigh the risks. Governor Newsom wants to ban fracking in California soon and oil extraction down the road.
Newsom is directing the Department of Conservation to stop issuing new permits for hydraulic fracking in California by January 2024. Once in place, California would be the largest oil-producing state to ban the process of extracting oil embedded in rock deep underground. Kevin Slagle is with the Western States Petroleum Association.
Banning fracking means banning 20% of the energy production in our state. And that's only going to hurt workers, it's going to hurt families and communities.
Newsom is also asking the State Air Resources Board to phase out all oil extraction no later than 2045. He believes it will help the climate. Kevin Tripp, KABC News.
KABC Sports, the Clippers beat the Rockets tonight, 109-104, and that's sports on the home of the USC Trojans. The markets closed in the green. The Dow gained 227 points. NASDAQ went up by 198, and the S&P 500 picked up 45 points. KABC SoCal weather. Mostly cloudy this evening with lows in the low to mid-50s. Mostly cloudy tomorrow, becoming partially cloudy by afternoon with highs in the 60s at the beaches, mid-60s to low 70s for the inland and valley areas. Currently, it's 60 degrees in Orange, 58 in Encino, and it's 58 degrees in El Segundo. The 25K weekday payday is back on 790 KABC. Listen every hour weekdays between 8 a.m. and 5:30 for your shot at $100 and possibly $25,000 right here on 790 KABC. Traffic is next, then more Friday night at the French Laundry.
KABC, dependable traffic right now, right in the heart of the East LA interchange, the 10 eastbound transition to the 5 southbound. We have a vehicle fire and it's blocking the right-hand lane of that connector road. Again, that's the 10 east transition to the 5 southbound. And the 10 east is slow, but not around the East LA interchange. East Santa Monica Freeway slow going from La Brea to the 110 freeway. 10 westbound, no delays at all from the East LA interchange to Santa Monica Pier. 5 southbound at Burbank Boulevard, some debris of some sort landed in lanes of the roadway, and you have just a little bit of slowing through Burbank on the 5 southbound because of that incident. That's dependable traffic. I'm Mike Morris, AM 790, KABC.
There are 40 million reasons to go electric. Like never having to pay for gas again, never having to waste time with an oil change again, and getting cash discounts and incentives. There's also the rush you get when you step on the accelerator. EVs are fast and fun to drive. And right now, there are over 60 models of new electric cars, minivans, and SUVs available. And they start under $20,000. Find the one that's right for you at electricforall.org.
With no fees or minimums on checking and savings accounts, banking with Capital One is like the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Kind of like Taylor Swift choosing what to wear.
It's looking kind of chilly out today. I think I'll go with a cardigan.
Yep, even easier than that. And with our top-rated app, you can bank anytime, anywhere, making Capital One an even easier decision. That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
New consumer accounts only. Approval required. Terms apply. Capital One NA, member FDIC.
How low can you go?
How low can you go?
This is utterly idiotic.
Armstrong and Getty, morning 6 to 10, just before Larry O'Connor on AM 790 KABC. It's Friday night at the French Laundry. On the menu tonight, a better California with executive chef Orrin Heatley, maitre d' Mike Netter, and the wise cashier Randy Economy.
Welcome back, everybody, to our virtual restaurant about California politics, named Adeptly Enough about Friday nights at the French Laundry, because that infamous Friday night when Gavin was out and about, then lied about it, no accountability, then got caught, so what's he going to say? I want to start this segment with a little bit of a rant, because I have the moments to do it, and the rant is this. As this movement grows, as more and more people come forward realizing that Caitlyn Jenner is running, things are happening, we're going to go to this announcement where it's going to be getting on the ballot. We have a lot of people coming out, starting little different movements, shall we say, some bigger than others, trying to take money away from our core cause at recallgavin2020.com, taking funds away from things that we could do. Don't be fooled by that. There's only a couple groups out there that are true to the cause of Recall Gavin 2020, true to the cause of recalling this governor of California. And along those same lines, something very important. When I spoke Thursday night in Orange County in a little group of about 40 people, one of the things that came up was this. What about election integrity? What can we do? Can we trust, even when the recall gets on the ballot, that the election will be clean? Just the fact that people doubt it is wrong. What's just as wrong are other groups that are all over the place. I'm not going to call out some specifics, but you'll see articles coming out in the next few days where those groups are steering away from a group called electionintegrityproject.org, which is trying to help keep our elections pure and clean. Because it's important that once we get this on the ballot, we consolidate what we do. We consolidate to keep our elections going forward that we can trust. And unlike Gavin normally thinks, we actually elect officials, unlike Bonta, Weber, Secretary of State, pick the senators, Padilla. It's important that we get the chance to elect our officials. And it's important that we trust those elections. Eric, you're involved in a lawsuit that I'm surprised a lot of people don't really know about with Election Integrity Project, right?
Yeah, let me tell everybody listening about it. First of all, election integrity. People of all political persuasions, all across, all races, creeds, colors throughout this state, throughout this country, a huge percentage of people have serious doubts and questions and concerns about what is happening with our elections and whether the votes are being properly counted. I have huge concerns that way. Mike, my thoughts on what happened with the presidential election. I won't talk about that now. I don't know if that's something you want me talking about on this show, but yes, I ran for Congress against Adam Schiff. I was the official Republican candidate. Myself, along with several other candidates who ran in the last election, have joined up with Election Integrity Project of California, as you're saying, a great organization. They're the lead plaintiff in a lawsuit. The rest of us are other plaintiffs in a lawsuit. I'm not the lawyer in the lawsuit. We have a really good lawyer representing the group, and we are suing the various registrar recorders throughout the counties in the state, the ones who oversee the elections, as well as the Secretary of State and several others, to get to the bottom of what happened in this last election. We're not trying to overturn the last election, but we're doing our best to try and prevent some of the shenanigans, and that's putting it mildly, from happening in the last election going forward. For example, Newsom, again, with his tyrannical executive orders, where he just, by the stroke of a pen, started issuing universal mail-in ballots. And then between him and Padilla, who was the Secretary of State, really a stooge for Newsom, started issuing these orders and rulings that allowed for barely any scrutiny of these ballots when they started being mailed in. Hardly any detailed look at the signatures on the ballots, as to the requirements that voters would normally have to do to have their votes pass muster. And one of the great ironies, of course, is the same Secretary of State's office is now looking at all the signatures on all the petitions to recall Newsom, and they're checking every single signature as if they're the the Holy Grail. It's exactly what they should have done with these mail-in ballots. It's exactly the opposite of what they did. And one of the things in this lawsuit is to say, and to get a ruling, that these relaxed ways of checking mail-in ballots are unconstitutional, and those rules that came down must be thrown out. We have to do whatever we can to protect our future elections.
Right, and it's interesting. I want to be a little hard-hitting here, right? We try to be nice on this show sometimes, at least I do. Okay, maybe not. So the heck with it. Listen, we not only have to trust our election process, but it's interesting. NBC put out things like, oh, look what we found on the petition. It wasn't about the virus. One of the things that we mentioned in our petition, absolutely, was that Newsom overturned the ability to execute the death penalty. One of the reasons the petition had an objection to it, it's not whether you're for or against the death penalty. Let's be really clear here. The public voted on it. And when the public votes on something, the governor and other officials ought to uphold what the public votes on. It seems to be a pretty simple thing that Gavin Newsom can't get his head wrapped around, that he's not the king, that executive orders shouldn't just overturn things because that's how Gavin's people tell him it should be done.
That was one of his first moves right out of the box when he got elected, and it was just stunning because it just showed his arrogance right out of the box. As you just said, Mike, the people of the state of California had voted and said the majority of the people of the state support the death penalty. This pompous, arrogant, empty suit, the Ken doll Newsom, gets elected right out of the box, executive order, throws out the will of the people. And that was Exhibit A and a perfect example of the way he's led his entire administration.
And when NBC talked about, when the NBC News put out an article, and I think it's good to note, they're right. We said this before. COVID just accelerated what's wrong with the state. And probably in most times, you don't notice a lot of these executive orders that the governor puts out. They're meaningless to your lives, or they don't affect you necessarily. But realize that the number of executive orders that Gavin has put out are against the will of the people. So now we have a situation in California, whether you like it or not, where people are, and I'm not saying that the voting process is illegitimate, but I'm saying that people don't trust it. And that groups like Election Integrity are trying to make it so people can trust it. And we have other groups jumping on the bandwagon, as I started to say in my rant, saying, oh, look at us, contribute to us. We're going to help with election integrity. Different cause, maybe. We're going to help with the recall, but we don't know where the money's going. Look, everybody out there, the recall has caught national attention and caught national fire, and it's really going to explode in the next 4 to 5 days. Stay true to what got us here. Stay true to what's going to keep this movement true, and that is focusing on just a couple things. I say all the time, don't be distracted by these shiny objects that they put up. I think 663 was a shiny object. I frankly think we're going to look at all the petitions. We're going to look at all the people that signed it. It got yanked. I just think it was a reason sometimes to just upset the public and not keep them focused on the business of the state at hand, and that business has to start with recalling the governor. It's time.
And Mike, just what you're alluding to, there are several grifters out there, and you guys running the recall movement know it, who have seen the passion and the energy and the will of the people and all of the support for this recall. And so that's what happens. These grifters come out of the woodwork, and they start trying to raise money as if they're doing something for the recall, and they're not doing anything for the recall. And that money needs to go to recallgavin2020.com. And Orrin and Mike and Randy and all your great, your army of incredible volunteers, and not to those grifters out there. And there's something else you're talking about. The same thing's happening with this Election Integrity Project lawsuit. No, by the way, we're seeking to audit those computers also. That's part of the lawsuit. And if anybody wants to support the Election Integrity Project lawsuit, go to Election Integrity Project of California, go to their website, and you can donate to that. But unfortunately, just like with the recall, there's several grifters coming out of the woodwork, and they're saying, wow, this is a great way to make money. Tell people they're involved in this thing, and they're not, and they're seeking money.
Absolutely. We're going to roll the break here. Remember, call in if you want at 1-800-222-5222. We'll try to get you in the air. We know we've had some people on hold. Contribute if you can. We'll do some shout-outs. Friday nights at the French Laundry, KABC, recallgavin2020.com. We'll be back, and we're going to talk a little bit about education or lack thereof.
Mr. Mayor, how would you prefer your foie gras donated? Sir, we saw you at a party. It wasn't me.
KABC, dependable traffic right now. 5 southbound right at Grande Vista, right near the East LA interchange. It's an accident blocking the middle lanes of the roadway. And the 5 southbound is slow through the interchange from the 10 freeway down to about Dittman, Indiana. Also have some slowing on the South 605 from Rose Hills down to the 5 freeway junction. Northbound side of the 605, no slowing from the 405 up to the 210. Still slow going tonight on the 101 southbound, the Hollywood freeway from Sunset Boulevard down to the 4-level interchange. The 110 north northbound heading to downtown LA is off and on slowing from Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard up to the 4 level in downtown Los Angeles. That's dependable traffic. I'm Mike Morris, AM 790 KABC.
According to
Looking for an easier path to better health? Let Santa Clara Family Health Plan lead the way. With our Medi-Cal plan for individuals and families, it's easy to stay healthy. That's because we put your health needs first. As your neighbors in Santa Clara County, we'll guide you to the local providers you need so you can rest easy knowing we've got you covered. Life is easier with Santa Clara Family Health Plan. Take the first step right now at medicalscc.com. That's MEDI-CALSCC.com.
With no fees or minimums on checking and savings accounts, banking with Capital One is like the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Kind of like choosing Charles Barkley in a pickup game.
We'll take Barkley.
Ha! First pick. Sorry, kids.
Yep, even easier than that. And with our top-rated app, you can bank anytime, anywhere, making Capital One an even easier decision.
Okay, here's the plan. Pass me the ball every time.
This is banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
New consumer accounts only. Approval required. Terms apply. Capital One N.A. member FDIC.
¿Estás buscando una señal para empezar a moverte otra vez?
Debería de tratar las clases de Body Pump en InShape. Realmente no he hecho nada durante la cuarentena. Tal vez no.
¿Qué tal yoga? ¿Te encantaba la clase de yoga en InShape?
Pues no me he estado estirando.
¿O qué tal la corredora?
Ay, pero no tengo resistencia.
¿Levantar pesas? ¿Bailar en la clase de zumba, tenis, ciclismo, HIIT, pilates?
¿Sabes? La zumba suena divertido.
Inscríbete ahora y aprovecha 0 de inscripción por tiempo limitado en InShape.com.
The 25K weekday payday on AM 790 KABC is back. Listen for the national keyword between 8 and 6 for your shot at $100 and possibly much more. 25,000 more. Full rules at KABC.com. You've only had an appetizer. This is your Friday night at the French Laundry with Chef Oren Heatley, maitre d' Mike Netter, and head cashier Randy Economy.
Welcome back, everybody, to the final course tonight of Friday Night at the French Laundry. I want the show sponsored by RecallGavin2020.com, the voice of the people. I want to talk a little bit about an article that was in the Sacramento Bee this last week. Very interesting. Fact check is the headline. Is Gavin Newsom right that a majority of California schools are open? Speaking in elementary school, et cetera, Gavin Newsom said 9,000 plus schools over the last month out of 11,000 schools have further reopened for in-person instruction. True, but what Gavin kind of left out of that little speech, 62% of elementary kids have the option to return. Only 37% of middle school students have the option to return. Only 39% of high school students have the option to return. And to go further on for a second, when we talk about transparency and accountability, Gavin wasn't being very transparent when he talked about it. I actually want to compliment the Sacramento Bee. It was a pretty good article. But what's also most interesting in the article is that the reason they're not even sure, which Gavin doesn't talk about, which just shows what a poor leader he is they requested that all the school systems send in their true data so they wouldn't have to guesstimate. Apparently they said, nah, we'd rather not. We're the teachers' unions. We're kind of tired from not working, so we're not going to send that data in. But here's our best guess. Even their best guess is poor. Gavin, as a leader, you should be able to demand that we at least get proper statistics about how our kids aren't getting educated. Wouldn't that make sense? Eric, got any thoughts on that?
Well, I got lots of thoughts. First of all, you can't believe a word Gavin Newsom says. He was the one that came out and said that he was a Zoom parent when, in fact, he had been dropping his kids off at one of their fancy private schools for months now. He's not a Zoom parent. But, Gavin Newsom, like all of them in the Politburo up there, are bought and paid for by these unions. And one of them is this teachers union or these teachers unions and the California Teachers Union. And they have shown us that they do not care about the kids. and it's a terrible thing between Newsom's lack of concern, between the fact that Newsom is controlled by the California teachers, the next generation of kids in this state whose parents can't afford to send them to private schools that have been open now for quite some time. The next generation the education of these kids is being destroyed. And, listen, we have a lot of good teachers in this state who are part of the union, but unfortunately, more and more, the majority of these unionized teachers are radicalized. They, frankly, are teaching agendas to these kids that I could go on and on about, where our kids are being indoctrinated with stuff that must be stopped in order to save our nation and our future generations. But what's going on right now, just with those numbers that you were reading, Mike, it shows the destruction that is going on right now to our children.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note, we're going to roll to a caller here in a second, is that the reality is this. Gavin Newsom seems really concerned with stopping fracking, banning gas-powered cars in 2035, not holding the Secretary of State accountable for the report about his recall. Okay, I kind of get that one if you were Gavin. Opening Disneyland, making sure people can go to Dodger Stadium, but only 3 million of 6.1 million students are able to return to the classroom. And Eric, I hear what you're saying about them being indoctrinated with this, that, and the other. But the reality is an entire generation, because we're not holding the teachers' unions and the schools accountable, aren't being taught the basic skills. And that's really, really scary. And I'm also confused when you talk about accountability and transparency. With these schools not being open, Gavin just allocated $6.1 billion to help them open, and we got 50% for our money. There's something wrong there. Before we run out of time here, I want to roll to Judy from Fresno, who gathered signatures from the recall. Judy, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, Mike. So good to talk with you. I just want to follow up what Eric and you were talking about people soliciting funds, because interestingly today we received 2 pieces of mail that are all about recall Newsom and donate money because we're going to do this. And it's like I'm just giving people a heads up that one of these came from a governor in Texas, supposedly representing the Recall Newsom Republican Governors Association action. And another one came from a congressional candidate who was a California person. But, and if they happen to live in this area and they want to support him, that's fine. But, both of these letters are like, yes, we've got to recall Gavin and send us your money. So just want to give people a heads up that these letters are in the mail and don't get fooled. It's recallgavin2020.com. That's where all of your money will go to help this effort. So I just want to get my 2 cents in there.
Judy, thank you very much. And I guess if Maxine Waters can go to Minneapolis to protest because she's from California, why not have Texas try to recall the California governor? Hey, it's one big national party, apparently.
Yeah, I know. But anyway, it's happening, and people need to watch what they're doing because, yes, they make it sound really, really like they're going to help, but they're not. So just wanted to validate what you'd said and say, yes, it's in the mail.
Judy, thank you very, very much. Appreciate that. Yes, she's right. Recallgavin2020.com. Keep us on the air. Help us keep the fight up. Do what you can, because we have to get Gavin out of office. And we could do 50 shows and probably not get it all in, but we probably have to do 50 shows, so that's important. Eric, we're winding down a little bit here. Give us some final words of wisdom from the kitchen.
Hey, listen, I loved cooking as the fill-in chef today. I'm always honored to be on your show, Mike, because as I say, and as so many people now around America know, you and Orrin and Randy and your army of volunteers have have taken the will of the people, we the people, and you are changing the political landscape of America, and God bless you guys. And so thank you for having me on.
Appreciate you being on, Eric. We really, really do. And I want to end with these words before we come on next week. There's a lot that happens every week, and there's more and more that's going to be accelerated. And for everybody out there, please stay focused on the mission. There's lots of distractions. The volunteers that are out there, again, we have merchandise coming in. We can bring in a bunch of merchandise. We need you to help us distribute it. We need the donation money off of that to pay for that. More importantly, what we need to do, and I told this to the group I talked to in Orange County, and thank you for having that at your house, Laura. What I need you to understand is this. We need to convince everybody you talk to, help them understand, pay attention. Pay attention to the fact that we need to recall Gavin Newsom. Pay attention to the fact that all kinds of people are going to come out of the political ecosphere and try to take your money, take your ideas, distract you. That's the right and the left, by the way. Pay attention to what's happening in your state, and let's take this state back. We have to, because if we don't, we're going to be giving it away. Friday nights at the French Laundry, KABC, recallgavin2020.com. Talk to you next week.
I had Bandolindo gatherings, just a prime example of a really big hypocrisy. You don't understand, we're not like other creatures. Rules do not apply to us, we are the leaders. Voters can't be trusted to be indoor eaters.